So you want to see something that is kind of hilarious because number one, it leads to a police investigation of that certain nameless person, aka them being looked into for perjury. And number two, this has a judge cautioning that nameless person's representatives from going this route, saying, yeah, that's probably not going to work out for you. Well, look no further than this document here. Now, the reason that we see this at all is because of a recent filing in New York Supreme Court asking for other documents to be turned over. And this one, it is so interesting because it covers charitable donations. It covers a judge getting very upset about a lot of moves. And then it gets to this, the Pitchess motion. This gets shut down, by the way. Now, if you've never heard of that motion, by the way, well, you're in good company. I'd never heard of it before and had to look it up. So this is what it is. Quote, in California criminal cases, a Pitchess motion is a defendant's request to inspect a law enforcement officer's personnel files for evidence of police misconduct. Defense attorneys typically bring this motion as part of a pretrial process when they suspect officers may have acted improperly, such as filing a false police report or using excessive force. Translated, what that means is a certain nameless person decided they would rewind the clock. They decided they would not go after the LAPD, but two officers because they didn't agree with their narrative, trying to pull their personnel jackets in on. A few months later, a bombshell drops with the body cam footage from that very date coming out. And well, I'm not saying that the LAPD wouldn't have looked into that for perjury, but you know what? When you go after their personnel, I'm sure they felt particularly motivated to look into this stuff. Now, the conversation that we're referencing today, this transcript, oh man, it is glorious. This has gone on for quite some time. This is on page 44 of 70. The judge has been very irritated up till now, and then brings up the idea of Pitchess motions. The judge says, it looks like someone has put a Pitchess motion on the calendar. Whose motion is that? And then Mr. C here. Mr. C is the representative for that nameless person. I'll either call them Mr. C or I'll call them Nameless or Team Nameless. But that's ours, Your Honor, they answer. The judge then asks, what's that all about? And Team Nameless here says, Your Honor, we served a subpoena on the Los Angeles Police Department. I'll refer to them as the LAPD as we move forward. And their counsel advised us that they cannot provide the materials absent a Pitchess motion. Now, what's interesting about that, by the way, is they blamed this motion, again, trying to pull the personnel jackets of two LAPD officers. They blamed that on the LAPD. I found that to be very telling. And the judge counters that by saying, can you just give us the gist of what you're asking for and how this is related to the Virginia action? That's the trial, by the way, that's upcoming. This will be in 2022. So, Team Nameless says, well, Your Honor, it involves the body cam footage from the officers who investigated the DV police calls while the parties were married. So you actually have reference to the body cam footage here. That's the first time we ever hear about that at all. Now, from what I understand, the body cam footage, it didn't come from that route, by the way. But isn't it interesting that Team Nameless is actually asking for the body cam footage when that stuff there, we know exactly where that's going to lead. Now, the judge, they find that answer a tad bit suspect, let's just say. They should, by the way. You saw exactly what a Pitchess motion is, what it's in reference to, and the judge asks the following, quote, so it's not asking for the personnel records, it's asking for body cam photos and footage. Basically, the judge delves deeper, and the judge should, by the way, because that answer, it gets clarified here. So Team Nameless says, it is additionally asking for personnel records in regards to any discipline or comments by supervisors related to the use of body cams. Again, it's wanting to pull the personnel records of the people that walk through that door. Why? Because they didn't walk lockstep with a specific narrative. That's crazy, isn't it? So the court says, so, number one, you're asking me to issue an order allowing the police department to provide you with body cam footage, and number two, you want disciplinary records of officers related to the use of body cam footage. You see how that's laid out there? And remember again that the judge has not been happy about this conversation at all. Team Nameless clarifies that, saying, yeah, that's what we want. Yes, Your Honor. Now, Team Nameless, they decide they're going to further clarify and expand that answer, and right here, you can tell what this move is. You can tell, again, it's not about body cam footage, it's about going after individual officers because you want to discredit them because, again, they didn't walk lockstep with your narrative. So, for instance, this continues, if the officer at question had been disciplined or in any fashion in regards to their use or lack of use of body cam footage or recording, we've inquired about these issues. Again, like I say, in no uncertain terms, you can tell what this move is going to be. Then the court asks, okay, and you've met and conferred with counsel for the police department on these requests or no? Again, clarifying, you did talk to the police about this, right? And Team Nameless says, yes, Your Honor. Now that I find very interesting too. Like I said, it pins the blame on the police department for this move. It removes any type of influence or any type of push by them. No, it's not our fault. The police, they made us do it. They specifically advised us to file the motion that they couldn't do it voluntarily. They couldn't provide body cam footage. No, they couldn't provide the personnel records for their employees. You really have to think about what they're saying there. Now, I found this to be really telling. Why? Because of the evasiveness of Team Nameless when answering this question here. Well, have you filed this type of pitches motion before, Team Nameless? And Team Nameless says, not in Los Angeles. No, Your Honor. And the court says, well, have you done that in other states? Now, you would think with this answer here, you would have done that in other states. But Team Nameless says, not in other states, Your Honor, no. So then the court says, so you've never filed a pinches motion for this type of information for the LA Police Department before. Again, further clarifying, you know what you're doing, right? And Team Nameless says, that's correct, Your Honor. We haven't done that at all. The court says, okay, well, I haven't looked at it, but I suggest you do some research on that. I have some question marks in my mind about what you're asking me to do, especially with respect to personnel records. Again, what exactly are you trying to accomplish with that? This is highly unorthodox. There's a high standard here, so I suggest you thoroughly research that issue and have a good basis for asking the court to do that. Judge continues by saying, because there's a lot going on there. And then you have Team Nameless speak up saying, well, Your Honor, would you like me to, I believe there's some cutoff words here, talk to the LAPD about an IDC? And the court says, you know what? No, because they're right. I can't. I think you need to talk to them about the validity of your request, in terms especially of their personnel records. It's not as if there's an action involving allegations against the police department. So to then delve into police officers' personnel records, you're going to have to give me some case authority for that. Team Nameless says, understood. Then the court continues. I would suggest some meet and confer efforts with LAPD counsel about whether they're going to be opposing the motion and maybe get their thoughts on it. I have some big question marks on that. So you have this move going after not only the LAPD, but individual officers' personnel records, trying to wreck their lives, essentially. That fails, by the way. You should watch my videos on those motions, too. They are not friendly. You can tell the LAPD, they didn't say, hey, come after our officers. No, they did not. Then you have body cam footage come out, and after that, after years, presto manifesto, you have investigations into perjury. Makes the noggin get jogging, doesn't it? But anyway, let me know what you think about this. As always, too, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff work, so thank you. You want to help out the channel? There are links in the description. PayPal, Patreon, merchandise, membership, so many goodies there. But you being here, that matters too. So thank you. I do appreciate you. Let me know what you think about this, and we will see you soon.